Irishman goes one better at Mûr de Bretagne than on the same finish 3 years ago. Dan Martin, UAE Team Emirates, took a superb victory on Stage 6 of the 2018 Tour de France as he attacked with a kilometre to go on the stage to Mûr de Bretagne. The Irishman was the first rider able to open a gap on the finishing climb, and endured an agonizing final run to the line as Pierre Latour, Ag2r La Mondiale, attacked behind. Latour almost made it across to Martin by the finish, but Martin held on to go one better than he managed on the same finish 3 years ago. Most of the general classification came across the line at 3 seconds, with Alejandro Valverde, movie star, leading them across the line. There was a small time loss for Chris Froome, Team Sky, who was 3 seconds behind his main rivals, but this was minor damage compared to some of the other GC contenders. Romain Bardet, Ag2r La Mondiale, suffered a puncture with 3 kilometers to go and chased hard to get back on before being dropped 1.5 kilometers from the line to finish 31 seconds down. However, Tom Dumoulin, Team Sunweb, was the big casualty of the day, puncturing on the fast run into the climb with 5.5 kilometers to go and losing 53 seconds to drop from 7th to 15th overall. As for the yellow jersey, Greg Van Avermaet, BMC Racing, finished in the group at 3 seconds to maintain his race lead. How it happened. The 6th stage of the Tour de France saw the riders face another lumpy parcours with an uphill finish to Mûr de Bretagne, and with the Breton flags out in force at the side of the ride, it was no surprise to see a local rider, Laurent Pitchen of Fortuneau Samsic, among those in the break. Alongside Pitchen were 3 more Frenchmen in Damien Godin and Fabien Grelier, Direct Energy, and Anthony Turgis, Cofidis, as well as New Zealander Dion Smith, Wanty Group Gobert, who was looking to retake the polka dot jersey that he had yielded to Tom Skuinch, Trek Segafredo, on Wednesday. Those 5 riders worked well through the early stages to extend their lead over a relaxed peloton out beyond 6 minutes, before Smith swept up the 2 points on offer at the top of the 4th category Côte de Plauderie after 44 kilometers. However, the stage turned interesting with 102 kilometers to go as the road changed direction and Quick Step Floors saw the chance to force a split. For a moment there were major splits in the peloton, with riders battling in echelons. That acceleration saw a group of around 50 riders go clear, with all of the major contenders apart from Primož Roglic, Lotnal Jumbo, making the split, and in the process wiping 2 minutes off the brakes lead in a matter of 7 kilometers. As Quick Step continued to drive the pace, the gap to the Roglic group at one point reached 2 minutes. However, a big effort by his team helped him regain contact with 74 kilometers to go as the gap to the front of the race came down to just 2 to 15. But no sooner had he regained contact than Roglic suffered more misfortune as he crashed with 70 kilometers remaining, being the only rider to come down as the peloton negotiated a central reservation. Once again, the Slovenian was forced to do some chasing and got back in a little while later. From there the racing settled down a little, with the gap to the break continuing to hover at around 2 minutes. That gap wasn't enough for Godin, who pressed on alone shortly after the intermediate sprint with 46 kilometers to go to leave his erstwhile breakaway companions. Meanwhile, Alexander Kristoff, UAE Team Emirates, led Fernando Gaviria, Quick Step Floors, and Peter Sagan, Bora Hansgrohe, across the line at the intermediate sprint to pick up the remaining points. Godin was soon caught by the rest of the break, whose lead remained around 2 minutes for a while, but as the Mûr approached the pace went up behind, with Dimension Data, BMC Racing, and Quick Step all fighting for position at the front of the peloton, and Jakob Fuglsang, Astana, was brought down in a crash. Fuglsang had a fight to get back to the peloton with no fewer than 6 riders in front of him, only making contact as the peloton approached the first climb of the Mûr de Bretagne with 19 kilometers remaining. While Fuglsang had been chasing, there had been more attacks in the break, where Grelier went solo to take on the climb alone with a 32-second lead on the peloton. However, the dead straight climb meant that the peloton was soon sweeping up the rest of the break and had Grelier in its sight, with Team Sky leading it up. Grelier was caught with a kilometre still to go on the climb, meaning that the polka dot jersey of Tom Skujins was able to jump out to take maximum points at the top. And over the line was Jack Bauer. Mitchelton Scott, who continued to push on as Skujins sat up to wait for the bunch, soon opening a lead of 30 seconds. That meant that Bauer took the 3-second bonus at the bonus sprint point with 12.8 kilometers to go, before Geraint Thomas, Team Sky, jumped out of the bunch to take the 2 seconds bonus for second place to move within 3 seconds of Greg Van Avermaet's yellow jersey. With plenty of teams trying to stay at the front of the bunch, the gap to Bauer soon came down to just 15 seconds, with most of the damage being done by Bora Hansgrohe. The pace was high and Bauer soon caught as Tom Dumoulin, Team Sunweb, suffered a puncture at the worst possible moment with 5.5 kilometers to go, receiving a wheel from teammate Simon Geschke and being quickly back underway but already trying to close a 40-second gap. With no teammates around him, Dumoulin took advantage of the slipstream offered up by his team car to move back into the convoy, while Romain Bardet, Ag2r La Mondiale, also punctured but was able to regain contact. However, Dumoulin, now with 2 teammates alongside him, was still off the back by 30 seconds while Michał Kwiatkowski, Team Sky, continued to apply pressure on the front on the run into the finishing climb. The straight road man Dumoulin had the peloton agonizingly in his sights, but the pace wasn't slackening as Daniel Bora Hansgrohe led the group up with Julian Alaphilippe quick-step floors in second wheel looking over his shoulder. However, it was the GC contenders who launched the first attacks, as Richie Porte, BMC Racing, launched the first move before Dan Martin, UAE Team Emirates, counter-attacked to open a gap. The chase was lined out with Adam Yates, Mitchelton Scott, and Porte leading them up, while there was bad news for French fans as Bardet was dropped. Martin's lead was slender as Porte continued to lead in the final 500 meters, before a counter from Pierre Latour made it across to Martin. Inside of the line later was nearly in Martin's slipstream, but couldn't quite make it across as Martin held on to win the stage by a handful of seconds ahead of the GC group. Alejandro Valverde, Movistar, led the GC group home at 3 seconds while Chris Froome, Team Sky, was tailed off slightly a further 5 seconds back. However, Froome's time loss was minor compared to Bardet, who crossed the line at 31 seconds, while Dumoulin was helped home by Søren Kragh Andersen almost a minute down. In all of that, the yellow jersey of Greg Van Avermaet was safely ensconced in the GC group, and with none of his rivals able to take any bonus seconds on the finish line, the Belgian looks set to take the yellow jersey at least as far as the Roubaix cobbles on stage 9. Results: Tour de France 2018, Stage 6, Brest to Mûr de Bretagne, 181 km 1. Daniel Martin, Ayer, UAE Team Emirates, in 4:13.432. Pierre Latour, Fra, Ag2r La Mondiale, at 1 second 3. Alejandro Valverde, especially, Movistar, at 3 secs 4. Julian Alaphilippe, Fra, Quick Step Floors 5. Rafał Majka, Pole, Bora Hansgrohe 6. Adam Yates, GBR, Mitchelton Scott 7. Bauke Mollema, Ned Trek Segafredo 8. Peter Sagan, SVK, Bora Hansgrohe 9. Geraint Thomas, GBR, Team Sky 10. Primož Roglic, Slow, Latinal Jumbo, all at same time general classification after stage 6-1. Greg Van Avermaet Bell, BMC Racing Team, in 2:2:35.46.2. Geraint Thomas, GBR, Team Sky, at 3 secs 3. Tadej van Garderen, USA, BMC Racing, at 5 secs 4. Julian Alaphilippe, Fra, Quick Step Floors, at 6 secs 5. Philippe Gilbert Bell, Quick Step Floors, at 12 secs 6. Bob Jungels Lux, Quick Step Floors, at 18 secs 7. Rigoberto Urán, Call, EF Education First Pack, at 45 secs 8. Alejandro Valverde, especially, Movistar, at 51 secs 9. Rafał Majka, Pole, Bora Hansgrohe, at 52 secs 10. Jakob Fuglsang, Den, Astana, at 53 secs.